When he got to Tuskegee, they thought he was gay. No association with women, high pitched voice. They thought he was gay.
The finest use we've been able to make of peanuts is in the treatment of the after effects of infantile paralysis.
And he'd rather for you to believe he was gay than tell you that them white folks that adopted him castrated him so he couldn't have sex with their daughter. Like, who wanted him? Huh? When he got to Tuskegee, they thought he was gay. No association with women, high pitched voice. They thought he was gay.
The finest use we've been able to.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of Let It Be Known. I'm Stacey Brown, your host for the morning show for Black Press USA.
Good morning, Stacey. I'm Nielle, as you know. But for those of you who don't know, I'm your co-pilot. And Let It Be Known is the place where we amplify Black voices and we bring you the headlines that are impacting and uplifting the Black experience.
Absolutely. And wow, that's some powerful stuff right there. That video there, real powerful stuff. Imagine that. And I just love what at the end there, who wants them? I mean, but I tell you what, they want our Black women.
Always did, always do. And they want our Black men too. Don't get it twisted.
Don't get it twisted.
Don't get it twisted. And it's always good to see Dick Gregory. I mean, even from yesterday, his words still ring true today.
Well, it's just well, later on we'll get into of course we have the someone's losing their Black card today. All that just goes right to the heart of what we just talking about now. But as Greer is pointing out, they don't tell you the reason George Washington Carver never had kids. The white family that raised him castrated him to ensure he wouldn't sleep with their daughter. This was common practice for Black boys in white households to strip them of manhood, control their bodies, and erase their lineage. Yet, despite the trauma, Carver's genius changed the world. They tried to break him, but his mind was unstoppable. And,
the story of Black folks in America. Okay, the story.
Well, doesn't that kind of in some way go along with what you had mentioned sometime before about Donald Trump? And we played that video of Trump, a younger Donald Trump, talking about he wishes he was Black, and he said something about being Black. He wished he was Black. What was that he said?
He was basically just saying that Black educated people are a threat in a nutshell.
A threat. Yeah,
we're a threat, and that we have basically that we have a superpower that white folks don't have. And that's basically what he was saying. We have a superpower that they don't have, so we already start at an advantage. Isn't that something for a white man to say? Isn't that something that a white man with privilege can say? They are warped.
No, it's people like that are just simply that's wickedness right there. Come on.
It's a justification
evil.
for their it's a justification for their wickedness. And they will go to the Klan meeting and the Grand Wizard will say it and all of them will believe it and they will leave there with their hoods on thinking that we are the enemy. That's just how warped they are.
The Klan meeting and the Grand Wizard.
They probably met last night in some small town in Kentucky. Don't get it twisted.
In Kentucky or Mississippi. Watch your back, Mississippians.
Yeah, yes. So basically, they turned some significant age, the Klan, this year. And so they're planning a rally in June. And they're telling all of the Klansmen to meet in Kentucky. That's why I said Kentucky. I got Kentucky on the brain because they're planning a big rally in, I think it's June. And they're telling from Ohio to all across the country. They put the numbers on the flyer and they meeting this summer to celebrate their anniversary.
Their anniversary.
I'm gonna send it to Greer. Maybe we could play it tomorrow.
And that's not a threat to national security. It's not a threat It's not, we when I say we, I'm not us, but of course the government is so concerned with Tesla vehicles and protests at Tesla and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Nobody concerned about these cowards running around in hoods. Nobody's concerned about those neo Nazis that black village in Ohio that we had on yesterday had to run off. Nobody's concerned about that stuff, right?
No, no, and nobody's concerned that the Department of Justice and the FBI said that the biggest threat to America is not foreign terrorists, but it's white supremacy, domestic terrorists, and they just totally wiped away that department, that investigation, and now they're
Yep.
having a rally, a
And
big
speaking
meeting.
of speaking of those folks that Trump opened the jails for from the January 6th folks, he wants to give them reparations. He spoke yesterday saying that they got to be compensated.
He is really, Maxine Waters said a week or two ago that Donald Trump is trying to ignite a civil war. And
Mhm,
that right there is
mhm.
evidence that he is really trying to poke the bear. He is really
And
poking the bear.
and that right there is one of the 12,275,777,160 reasons why I can't stomach these black MAGAs. Can't stomach
Yeah.
these black MAGAs
Mhm.
because you support this. You support this.
Oh, no, I don't think they support, they turn a blind eye to it. They turn a blind eye to it. They will
Mm-mm-mm.
deflect and go to another subject matter than to address that elephant in the room.
Mm-mm-mm.
I don't know what it's like Jim Jones. He didn't gave them some type of Trump Kool-Aid. They have drank it. And so those types of things that you just mentioned, they don't even see it. They don't even see it.
Well, Austin says our one of our superpowers is common sense. I mean, yeah, there you go. Nancy Wall says he is trying to get the black people mad. They want us to get upset so they can kill us.
Mhm.
That's another. That's
That's the
hey,
Civil War factor.
yeah,
That's the Civil
I
War
can't
factor.
argue with that. Can't
That's the
argue with
Civil
that.
War factor.
Yeah. So, our Black History question of the day. So,
Oh, let's
folks,
go.
yeah, put it in the chat. Your answer. I got to figure this one out. I don't know the answer, but okay. Here's the Black trivia, right?
Mhm.
Black Jeopardy, if you will. This woman, folks, this woman investigated sexual assaults against black women in the South, including the Reese Taylor case in 1944. Who is she?
I
This
mean,
woman?
geez, Greer, could you have started a little lighter? I mean, that's a Jeopardy question, the
That's what
Homer level.
listen, and the answer is y'all put it in the chat
Hey,
because I don't know the answer. I'm trying to, some different things coming up in my head. I
people
don't
in the
know.
chat, help us out because I
Yeah,
have
please
no
help us
clue.
out.
I'm
Yep.
gonna be
So
educated
who was
today.
this that investigated sexual assaults against black women in the South for the NAACP, including the Reese Taylor case in 1944? Wow. So whoever she is, like most black women, she had to be extremely bold, brave, fearless. 1944?
Okay.
Wow. Davis already garnered a guess. He says, Ida B. Wells. I don't know. We'll find out toward the end. Austin says Greer play nice.
Right.
But
I mean, ease us into this.
or Jesus, I know it was not Candace Owens or anybody in her DNA.
You know what? It might have been her great, 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 great grandmother, and she don't
Right.
even know it.
And don't even know it, right?
You
Oh
know,
my God. Because she don't know her history. Come
I
on.
wonder how her ancestors feel about her.
Please. I wonder how mama feel about
Oh,
her. Yo,
moving
mama.
right along. Moving right
Moving along.
along. What we
Um,
got?
so and speaking of the wannabe dictator, he has signed an executive order that says that they are going to vastly reshape US elections. i.e., we're going to do everything now we can to fix the election so that, remember, he said about a year ago now that if you
Mhm.
vote for me, you'll never have to vote again.
Yeah, he did say
Um,
that. He did.
they are on the pathway of making sure that this is indeed a dictatorship.
For sure, 100%. 100%. And I was just thinking about the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and how that was a mandate that states couldn't disenfranchise us any longer and give us, we had a federal protection. And now it's the opposite. We're going to have the states. Like for me, California, I don't feel threatened, but this is going to definitely impact southern states for
Hmm.
sure. What's going
Hmm.
to impact all of us, but if you live in a progressive liberal state, you have some sort of protection. But this right here, it's like I say it, they are their ancestors' wildest dreams.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, Again, remember to give us your answers. I see another answer came up to our trivia question. Another guest from Daniela Pierre. She's saying Rosa Parks. I imagine that she means that's a good guess. As good as guess as any.
Right.
And I don't know the answer. I really don't know the answer. So but Inferno 932 has just debunked the Ida B. Wells answer because he said she passed away in the 1930s. And Ida B. Wells was Orange G's guest. So
Yeah.
Michelle Madison believes it's Dorothy Height. Keep them coming because somebody's
Right.
bound to be right. Um,
But I wanted to
Felicia. Uh-huh.
also just dig a little deeper. So the order is also calling for citizenship proof
Yes.
to vote in federal elections. So
Yes.
allegedly, this is going after the undocumented immigrants.
Which it's been proven time and again that undocumented people do not vote in U.S. elections. They also have a thing in that order again about marriage. If you changed your name,
Hmm.
whereas before, all you had to do, you didn't have to worry about that. Now you have to worry about if you got married and you changed your name and you don't change all of your paperwork, all of your license and whatever other IDs, passports or whatever to your married name, you will not be allowed to cast a vote.
It's so wild because I was having a conversation and it was this woman who brought up like that was something that they had to fight for and pass legislation for women in the 70s to where if
Mhm.
women got divorced, they couldn't get credit.
Mhm.
They couldn't, you
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? And all of these things that disenfranchised women back in the 70s, this is going to take them right back to that place.
Yep.
It's
Absolutely.
wild.
Good morning to the Memphis Joke Show. Y'all gotta check Memphis out. I always tell y'all to check Memphis out. Wednesdays is when I check him out. I think he's probably doing a lot more now, but he's also a great hip hop artist on Chuck D's Spit Slam Records. He's watching this morning. What's going on, Memphis?
Good
He
morning.
is he is all that and then some. Really dig him. Um, so Felicia Rashad caused quite a bit of a stir recently on the Breakfast Club. We got a clip of what she said, and there's been some wild responses, both for and against what she said. I don't know
Really?
if Greer has it fired up. Yeah. Oh my gosh. You know how social
I
media
saw
is when
nothing
people
but
are hiding.
positive stuff. But okay, I want to see
No,
this
I've
clip. Maybe
seen
it's
a
not the
bunch
clip
of
I
people.
saw. Maybe it's not the clip I saw.
It's the clip you saw, but I'm saying the comments. The comments are off the chain.
Yeah.
Really?
You came up in
Yes.
an era, Miss Rashad, where dignity and grace were everything. So do you ever look at how wild Hollywood is now and you just think to yourself, boy, y'all got it easy. Y'all wouldn't have got away with that in my day.
Mm. Yeah, you'd have to look at Hollywood. I could look at the way young ladies dress.
Mm.
Mm.
I knew I should have worn some other pants.
You got your
I'm
abs
not
out.
talking
You see what
about
I'm
that.
saying?
Cover
You good?
today.
I'm
Got my
talking about.
knees out.
I'm
See,
talking
not near
about.
elbow,
I'm
shoulder
talking.
over here. I just,
You know,
you want my coat?
the young ladies are so beautiful.
Mhm.
They're so beautiful, and something has happened in popular culture.
Mm.
You know, and I don't mean to be critical, and I hope young ladies listening don't take this as personal criticism, because I don't mean it that way.
Mm.
But you're young queens. I'm taken aback when I see on a college campus young women dressed in strips of clothing.
Mm.
But more importantly than that, no man wants his woman to be out like that,
Mm.
right?
I grew up on Method Man saying, wearing 3/4 of cloth, never showing your stuff off. Boo. That's what he said.
That's right.
But not only that, you know, it's like there's today's designers. I mean, there's ways, you know, there are other things, and I just
Leave something to the imagination.
Yeah.
it would be nice.
Some things are for my eyes only, you know?
Yep. And like you said, there are ways of being sexy without showing so much.
Oh, please. And that's really not sexy.
I mean, one of the most sexiest, most beautiful pictures is you. I forgot what year it was, but you got on like a basketball jersey and like some jeans, eating some popcorn. That's an iconic
Is
picture.
it the white jersey?
Yes.
That was that we did.
That is a beautiful picture. That's like that is the epitome of sexy.
Oh well. I think it has a lot to do with what they see. What they're emulating what they see.
Yeah.
See, we grew up in a time where, you know, the singers, these ladies were dressed down, darling. These women, they were wearing robes and gowns and do, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, it's a little different today.
Yeah.
It's your man LL Cool J.
It's your man LL Cool J. I thought LL was going to chime in. So some of the responses, and I have my thoughts. I'm sure everybody has their thoughts. Some of the responses was just, it was like, yeah, you know, she's right, and then there were some with some vile responses telling her, well, you know, we can't. One person said this, and under that person's comment, there was like 200 some odd responses, and about 150 of them agreed with this individual. Oh, well, you should stay on the sidelines since you supported Bill Cosby. She should shut up and mind her business. This is a quote. And one person said the narrative of women centering their decisions around men's approval is so tired. And that's not what she was saying at all, really. That I think you missed the message. She started out, unlike Bill Cosby years ago, you know, there was a speech that black people hated, the pound cake speech, when he was like, pull your pants up, etc., who just was shooting them between the eyes. She started off by saying that she does not mean this in a derogatory or negative way. She doesn't want them to take offense because it's not meant that way. This is how she views it. She wishes that they would, you know, dress a little different, you know, show less of themselves. And listen, people in her age group, my grandmother, my mom, and them always used to say the same thing. You know, the boys looking at the women like, why buy the cow when you can have the milk for free? You showing off everything. Ain't no man go. They say that. This is people her of her age, her peers and older, always, especially black women, always said that. So she didn't say anything new.
Well, I think that that's what we're missing, that auntie, that mother's wit. If you look at, you know, women today, a mother today is a grandmother, right? Which means that she had her kids at a younger age. And the cycle is off, and we don't have elderly, stately women talking to us like that. And so we're not, first of all, the younger generation, the millennials and the Gen Zs, they're not used to that conversation. But to your point, like my grandmother talked about how they would wear pantyhose and dresses to the grocery store. If they got ready to go downtown to Macy's, that they were fully dressed. I mean, you could look at the older pictures, even when people protested, they wasn't pulling up in tennis shoes and jeans. They were fully dressed, suits, zooted and booted, because there was a certain quality of dignity that represented. And because that their parents and their grandparents didn't have that, because remember, by that time they were slaves, you know, by the time they had it, that dignity meant something to them. Today, they just don't have it. And to hear somebody say that, they feel offended, but she's not saying it to be offensive. She's saying it with love. Like,
Listen,
it's
she
too
is saying it with
low,
love, right?
and your shirt is too low, and your skirt is too high. That's what she's saying. Pull it
Right,
down, pull it up.
right. And it's interesting, like you said, you got grandmothers who are much younger now, but I still, that young um crowd, I still uh, uh don't understand why they can't understand. You made a great point about listening to the elders. I know recently, unbeknownst to her, I was recording a conversation I had with my mother. We was that went to my cousin's funeral, and we all went to my brother's house, and we were sitting there. This is about 3 weeks ago, and I was asking about my grandfather and stuff, and we were talking about my grandmother and all, and I got the idea. My wife was like, you should do that, record it. And I just pulled out my phone and started recording her, videotaping her as she spoke. And you'd be surprised, and probably in about a 3-4 minute span, there was about 10 nuggets that I didn't even realize.
Mhm.
And so I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna make sure to put it on a whatever call those things, a drive or something. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna try and do some more, because I should have done it with my grandparents, right? My great aunts and stuff like that. But the wisdom is what we are missing.
Right.
The We were sitting. Dr. Chavis had his the book signing a couple of weeks ago. We talked about that, but I'm going to mention this, and I mean this. Um, Shanae was sitting there with Claudette Perry, and she was asking her about her hair, and Miss Perry just went on about, talk about, because she's locking her hair, and she was talking about this and the wisdom that was
Mhm.
coming out. It was priceless. And it
Right,
might
right.
not have been like this most profound or whatever, but it was in a sense that here you have, and I'm looking at them sitting at the table together, and I'm looking at her explain, and I'm watching Shanae, um, just listening intently. It was such a great, great moment. And neither one of them realized, I don't think, how beautiful that moment was for me to watch. Because you
Mm.
because Imma say this, because see, my wife doesn't have a family outside of my family, right? Her mother was
Mhm.
killed when she was a baby. Her father
Mhm.
died, he had his issues or whatever, and family, she didn't have family. She had cousins who went a different way, with their lives, and, I mean, in a bad, not in a good way, right?
Mhm.
And to anytime I watch her, in a setting like that with someone who has such world experience as Miss Perry.
Mhm.
It's so beautiful,
Right. Yeah.
and
We need
it's like,
more of that. We need more of that. And
yeah,
I'm just looking at this headline. Felicia Rashad throws shade at young black women.
yeah,
That
and that's the wrong
headline is
headline. It's
that's
wrong. It's
that's
misleading.
not the appropriate headline.
Right.
you know,
It's misleading.
yeah, and I didn't receive it like that. I can expect that some young college women were like, "Well, who is she to tell us?" But I mean, that happens when you
She
get
was a dean at Howard
chastised. You don't
University,
like,
folks.
yeah, when you get chastised, you don't like it. But guess what? It helps you be a better person when you reflect on it later. So I think it was important that she did this, whether she caught
Mhm.
shade for it or not, because it needs to be said more. And it needs to be said more by some of these other artists that are trying to be young when they're in their mentorship stages. But that's not the clip that I saw that I was talking about. The clip that I saw, she gave another good quote on the show. I know Lauren asked her about her carrying all of this wisdom and all of this
Mhm.
and giving it out, and does it feel heavy to be a moral compass? And her response was, light is not heavy.
Mm. Mm.
Light is not heavy. So no, it's not
Wow.
hard because she walks in light. So we already know by her saying that whatever they saying ain't heavy to her because she knows she's spoken in truth and in light.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And Mike V says they got more smoke for her than Trump, and it's true. It's ridiculous. By the way, Mike V. Neal says he likes the way you dress. Mike, you don't see
Oh,
the
thank
Prince pants she
you.
has on below with the cutout behind and stuff like that.
You know what? Leave it up to a man to say something like that. And don't
And
get me wrong, but don't get me wrong. It is okay to have a little cleavage. You know what I'm saying? It's okay, but you do everything at the appropriate time and in moderation.
let me tell you something. Shanae, I was talking about Shanae locking her hair. If she locks her hair, we having more kids.
Well, there you have it, Shanae.
um, RNG says, I understand where she is coming from. I was in Vegas and I saw women in all shapes, sizes, and colors dressed like they work for an escort service. And Vegas is a great example. It is
But that
so
they
true.
probably do though. Vegas is a different type of town because they
Yeah,
probably
and
do.
it is a different type of town.
I
And
mean,
I'm Pam.
after 12 o'clock, go sit in the bar. And just from 12 o'clock to about 4 o'clock, just watch the shenanigans that happen. When they say the freaks come out at night, ooh,
Oh
in a Vegas
gosh.
bar
Vegas, they
after
all day. They come out in the
all
morning,
day.
night.
But I'm
Yeah.
telling you, at night, if you sit at a bar and you just watch, they try to get up in them elevators. That's when the security come out and sit by the elevators. And
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
just, oof. But it's
I'm
such a
Pam.
fun time.
Pam says, I often think about how my children didn't get the knowledge from my parents, and it saddens me. And the only thing we could do about that is to make sure that because we were privy, Aunt Pam, to the knowledge of your mom and our great aunts and stuff like that. We were so we can pass that down. We can sit
Right.
down. We can have you know, chats and stuff. And that's the thing. No matter how old our kids get, we can still do that. Um, and we should do it.
Right.
Um, Nancy Wall says she listened to that segment and thought it was very appropriate. The ladies were just coming off a huge disagreement and they were listening. She needed to be there at that time. That's
That's
interesting.
a good
That's a
point.
full
That's a good point.
context of that. Yeah,
That's a great point.
exactly.
And I think you're
Yep.
right. I think you said something really that's important, that if we do have our elders around, take the time to sit at their feet, to listen to their
Hmm.
stories and their wisdom. I know my grandmother is 90, she'll be 94 this year. And she's one of the reasons why I started going back to church,
Hmm.
because I just felt like I wanted to just be around her and, to let her know that I love her. And I had her for dinner over Sunday. And I always just take her back to her childhood and just, impart something to me, Nana, tell me, something. And she never disappoints. The
Hmm.
wisdom that these elders have, and they don't even realize it. They're just talking, whether
Yeah,
it's a
they're just
Bible
talking,
verse.
right?
Yeah, they just talking. And
Hmm.
so if you have your loved ones, I know I'm probably preaching to the choir, but talk to them, call them, get some
Yeah.
wisdom, because it's
David
far and few today.
David Youngblood says he was raised by honorable people whose wisdom and love are missed dearly, and that's yeah, that many of us can relate to that. Real quick, we have a guest coming up, but real quick, wanted to just mention this before we move to our guest. And we don't have to spend a lot of time on this because of the hypocrisy and ridiculousness of it. But Representative Jasmine Crockett always under fire for some reason or another because she's outspoken, she's bold, she's black, she's beautiful, she's a woman. Um, she made a comment about Governor Hot Wheels, is what she called them. Now, she was not considering the fact that the man is in a wheelchair. However, however,
I thought that was the butt of the joke. That's what made it funny to me.
well,
That's what
yeah,
made it funny
it
to
made it
me.
hilarious. But the thing about it is the audacity of folks, uh, MAGA, to be upset. Oh, how she's disrespecting somebody who's in a wheelchair. What?
Okay,
The
let's just
man
talk
in the
about it.
wheelchair. Right, go
Right.
ahead. You talk. Go
But
ahead.
let's talk about Donald Trump. He called Diane Warren Pocahontas at the State of the Union. He's called Kamala Harris stupid. He said, does she drink? Is she on drugs?
Mhm,
Sleepy Joe, Crazy Bernie. Let's remember when his first term, he stood up there and made fun of somebody on the spectrum, Remember?
Yep.
And he did the
Yep.
whole.
Exactly.
So let's not
Exactly.
go there. Let's not go there.
Right. Called a war hero, John McCain, a loser because he was captured and injured in the war. Their policies, his current policies, the policies that they are jamming through are we always talk about DE and I, we let them hijack that and we shouldn't, but they're anti disabled, the disabled. All these disabled vets, they are attacking on a regular
Mhm.
basis. And Abbott is right there with Trump on this. This is not you're saying
Yeah.
we might be saying, oh, Trump, but what about Abbott? Abbott, his policies are the same.
They
And
mirror.
they have no morals whatsoever. Abbott has absolutely no morals. So everything goes, whether or not she was making fun of him being in that wheelchair or not, so be it. So be it.
It was great.
Yes. So be it.
She's walking in the steps of our question. What's our question of the day? Let's see. Our pop quiz Black culture question. When you were talking about the bravery of this woman, whoever she is, the 1st person that popped in my mind was Jasmine Crockett.
Well, unfortunately, Jasmine's not the answer for the 1944. Well, fortunately, she's not the
Right.
answer.
But she popped in my head.
Nancy Walsh, I thought it was hilarious. They always forget about felony 47 and what he says. She got their attention and they will keep trying to distract.
Right.
Absolutely. So, Michigan Sheriff Chris Swanson is here this morning with us to share the success of the Ignite program, which provides 2 hours a day of educational programming 5 days a week to inmates, and that has drastically reduced recidivism. Sheriff, welcome to the Black Press's Let It Be Known.
Good morning, my family. I love it.
Whoa, I love the energy.
Listen, I've been listening for the last 20 minutes and I was soaking up your wisdom. So I'm with great people. I'm excited.
Tell you something. If you soaking up wisdom from me, you better not use it against these criminals back there in Michigan. You better give them a chance.
You got that right. I promise you.
Listen, so tell us about the Ignite program. This seems like it should be and might be a model for the rest of the country. Tell us about that.
It is, and it's already a model. I got to tell you, it's an honor to be on your show and talk to your audience. I mean, I don't take any of that lightly. So I just want to say thank you from my heart. I know there's folks listening that are discouraged and they're thinking, man, is there any kind of an answer? And you're trying to pump out some good knowledge and some things are working. Ignite is that answer. So check this out. In 1998, now I've been on the job 32 years, right? My dad and my grandfather were both Detroit police officers. I know it. And so I learned, how to handle things based on what people have taught me. And that's how a lot of times we do things, right? But in 1998, I just come off a drug team and I'm in my master's program and I was under the Bill Clinton crime bill to pay my salary. And that was a funding source that any city in America could have gotten. But where I was doing my stuff was different than 10 miles away to another town that didn't have all the dope and all the things that we were dealing with, or, the brokenness and the poverty. So I was like, why do two different towns, a white town and a black town, get the same amount of money? So I went out and I said, what does really reduce crime? And in 1998, I found that it wasn't more arrest. It wasn't harsher bails. It wasn't, harsher sentencing. It wasn't more cops. It wasn't more money. It was education, hope, value, and jobs. Bookmark, right? Lord put it in my head back then. Fast forward, I become the sheriff in 2019. And so I knew coming up in the ranks that, man, if we're going to do something, we're going to have to break the way we've always done it. I've seen 3 generations come through the jail. You talk about grand folks and parents and kids. I'm seeing that coming into the jail. So if you want to break that culture, you got to do something radical. We started with Ignite, inmate growth naturally and education through. And I thought, man, if you can just build it on a meritocracy, that means when any success happens, you're like, hey, great job. Maybe you give them a can of pop and an 8-hour visit with their family. You do a graduation. Well, we started that, but we didn't enact it until after a guy like me, who looked like me in my uniform took a man's life in May of 2020. When George Floyd was murdered, and we had protests here, and we turned this protest from a riot into a global phenomenon of how to handle folks by just asking, what do you need? The media, just like this, kept saying, what is the next step? And I thought, you know what? We're going to launch Ignite. We're going to change the way we do jail. We're going to build relationships between the white and black community, the trust between law enforcement, because that's broken. But we're also going to educate and give jobs. And we're going to do things, so we're going to set things up for people to succeed. And that's exactly what happened. It's been 5 years this September. It is now the model throughout the country. There's 23 sites throughout America. I'm telling you, I know it was a long intro, but Ignite is the answer a lot of folks have been waiting for.
I want to jump in here because you're talking a lot about prevention, right? So, but what about the intervention side of things? I mean, you're talking about how to fix after it happens, but how, when we talk about policing in America, it's the systemic racism, the laws, how the district attorney's offices are ran, qualified immunity, police bill of rights, all of these things. What is your program doing for prevention instead of the intervention side of things?
So that's a great question, because I look at that as, even in leadership, when I build up folks that are coming into leadership, I'm like, you can only control your controllables. So as a sheriff, I know I got folks in jail. So that focus of getting them the services they're needed, but changing the culture, if we start with that and we allow folks to not only get educated in the jail, get their GEDs, their diplomas, financial literacy, allow them to learn French, allow them to restore the internal pride of, hey, I have something to offer this community, and then restore families. We're seeing family restoration in jail through motherly and fatherly intercession. And when you see those transitions, and not only that, we're celebrating through graduation commencements. We have speakers from around the world. Shaggy was here and Jelly Roll was here. When you see folks who had never been told, great job, that indirectly answers all those questions. I'm not a policymaker. I'm not in Washington. I'm a sheriff in a big city in Michigan. I'm going to do my part. And that right there inspires others to do the same. And that's what Ignite does. So I wish I could take and tackle everything you just said. But I know that Ignite in the jails, man, there's 80 million people in America that have done at least one day incarcerated. And 9 out of 10 folks that come to jail, they're going to go back to the street. Only 10% go to prison. So what are we doing with that group that are going to go back into the street? And then we say, don't come back. Oh, that's never going to work. Ignite works.
Okay.
I think you've been ignited.
I'm always like this.
So Sheriff, I love that line of questioning that Niel, and I love the answer to it. When you decided to do this program, and you're seeing the success of it, as I know overcrowding has been reduced greatly there where you are, what type of pushback did you get from your peers?
You know what? Leadership can be a lonely road, but it's the right road when you're doing right. And, you were talking before I got on about the wisdom of our grandfolks and our parents, and you recorded. Remember, you said I turned on my phone. I just recorded it. A lot of wisdom comes from people before me. And so I know that if anything has been done big, it's cost people their lives. Whether it's, Bobby Kennedy, 1968, obviously Martin Luther King, and the people that have really gone out there and just paid the price with a pound of flesh, you're not going to get everybody on board. And when we walked in May of 2020, I had dudes that I had known for a long time. Said, man, why would you walk with folks? That's not how we handle things. Well, that's not my audience. We were able to turn an entire near riot into a protest and set a standard for Flint, Michigan. So when I launched Ignite, I said, hey, we're going to change the way we do business in here. We've been doing it since 1836 one way. It's not worked. That came with a lot of pushback. But I can tell you that any major change has to start with the heart of the leader, and others will follow. There's still a lot of pushback I get. There's still people within my own agency that wonder, why are we doing this? Why are we educating inmates? They'll learn by results. But I can tell you this, those aren't the folks that I'm reaching. I'm reaching the mom and the dad who's been praying for their son and daughter, their grandbaby. When I see them on the street, when they stop me, you know, when I hire returning citizens, I got 2 dudes that I met in 1993 that they were in jail. I was a young deputy. One did 12 years for second-degree murder, came out. The other did 29, John L. Man, I hired them full-time 2 years ago. They're executive directors of community engagement. They have badges. They have keys to the same facility. Man, talk about rocking. But if you're going to do something that can truly change culture, not just a program, folks are not going to be on board. But you got to push through, because the right thing at the end of the day is still the right thing. And the results show it. The community feels it.
Right.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Nia.
So I do understand that the sheriffs run the prisons across the country. And
Jails.
Jails. They run the jails.
Yes.
But to even expand this conversation, because, you know, if you go to jail, if you're sentenced and convicted, you go to prison. And so there are conversations, and they kind of intertwine. I want to talk to you a little bit about privatized prisons and your thoughts on that, because GEO and Core Civic, they seem to be pretty problematic. And you know that if somebody goes to jail and they are convicted, they go to prison. What are your thoughts about our country and privatized prisons? Do you think they're good, bad, or we should get rid of them?
You know, before I answer that, I want to lay a foundation for your listeners that when your freedom is in question or in jeopardy, that changes the whole conversation. But when someone else's freedom is in jeopardy, it's a lot easier for us to talk about it. So when I talk about this, I want people to get into the mindset of, if your freedom was taken away because maybe you did something bad, maybe you're struggling with addiction, you have mental illness or something, let's talk about freedom. And then if somebody's freedom's taken away, that means somebody else controls that freedom. And the person who controls that has to be a very trusted source. We do not have private prisons in Michigan. And I think it can be very dangerous when you monetize the institution of people's freedom. There's a reason why government is trusted by the people. I'm elected by my folks, and they hold me accountable. But if I turn it into a business, I think that's very dangerous, because now it goes back into profitability and it goes back into trust. I mean, I think as a government official, that is the best way to hold people accountable, because we have dangerous folks that victimize. I get that. But the key is to protect victims, prevent crime, and ultimately carry out what the courts order. That is the way the system works. I'm very concerned that if we monetize that for private business, and others have, that it can be very dangerous when it comes to people's freedom.
Thank you.
You know, I had a conversation with Mark Cuban in Shark Tank, Dallas Mavericks, when the George Floyd situation occurred. And I remember him saying that he told me, he said, you know, I didn't realize that I had these biases in me. He said he had passed by a protest with his kids, and his kids started questioning him about why people are like that. And he realized, he said, this is his words, that he realized that he's no different, that he has those biases. And I say that to say this. Obviously, you deal with a lot of African Americans when it comes to jail. We know that the jails are disproportionately filled with African Americans. Did you feel that you had a moment of reckoning yourself? And you have that compassion that you are displaying, we don't always see with law enforcement. So thus I'm asking that question. Did you have a reckoning yourself?
Well, I grew up in a mixed neighborhood. All right. So even though I told you my dad and my grandfather were both Detroit police officer, I grew up and I've been very comfortable in the Black community. My close friends going through high school, whether it's Malik Wilson or Chris Keys, like we were fellas. So what I can tell you, a lot of white folks are not comfortable with Black folks because they've never had any interaction. So the only thing they do is they repeat what they have heard or what they've been told. And so I got to answer that with that little bit of qualification is
absolutely.
There's a lot of it is people just aren't comfortable with that. But what I can tell you for sure is the day that George Floyd was murdered, and I watched what you and everybody around the world watched, I thought, that is not who we are. but that's going to have a blowback like never before. Now, we had already seen all those others that have preceded that, but that was like a tipping point. And so every day that went by and we had that scheduled protest there at the Target parking lot at 5 o'clock on May 30th, I felt the tension build. And then when it hit on Friday night and cities around America started on fire, the reality of all the stories, my dad was in the 67 riots in Detroit. My grandfather's in 45 riots. I went right back to all the stories I heard growing up. So in full disclosure, I met with my staff and I met with them at 1 o'clock on a Saturday. And I said, we're going to give them their voice. But if anything happens, because we're a mile from the jail, we can take 1,000 people to jail. We got 1,200 flex cuffs. We got OC spray. We were doing all the same things. But what happened that day, and this is why it's so important on that May 30th and how Flint turned it around because of a simple question. You can watch the video. I appreciate you throwing up some images. That day changed my life forever because I went there prepared for what I've always done. But when I saw the humanity live and I thought, this is crazy. There's got to be a better way. There's going to be bloodshed. There's going to be violence. Like that doesn't solve anything. And then when I broke the line, I went there because a great friend of mine, his name is Jeff Hawkins. He's a black pastor. He lost 2 separate kids in 2 different homicides as victims. Like he's felt pain. And I just picked up my phone. I'm like, bro, where are you? And he goes, I'm in the crowd. I said, look, and he looks up and I see him over there. And I said, I'm coming for you. When I broke the line with no plan. There wasn't a hey, I'm going to do this to do this. It was all by heart. I always say life is like a cup and your container is what you put in, allowed other people in. But when your cup gets bumped, that's what comes out. That's who you really are. And so I went, I gave him a big old hug. One of the organizers came over and I'm like, hey man, I said, that guy over there in Minneapolis saying who we are. I said, these cops are here to help you. You tell us what we need to do. That was all unprompted. He said, tell the people what you just told me. I said, well, get their attention. He's like, yeah, everybody, the sheriff wants to say something. And then that huge horseshoe forms. Everybody's got the cameras. And that's when I'm like, hey, man, we want to turn this into a parade, not a protest, trying to de-escalate the emotion because even the cops were just as nervous and some were angry in both sides. I was just trying to de-escalate. But when I asked the question, what do you need us to do? Can I tell you, I didn't even get the last words out of my sentence. They started chanting, walk with us. And when they started chanting, I always tell people, if you want to cheer for the Mavericks, then you cheer from your lungs. You want to cheer from pain? That's from the gut. That's years and years of pain. They were screaming. And I watch the video even now, and I'll take a step back. And, you know, that's the one time I can tell you I listen to the Holy Spirit, because when you go with your gut, you go with your heart, you're always going to make the right decision. And I'm like, let's walk. I said, we'll walk all night. To answer your question, I had learned something that day. As a veteran police officer, always listen to the people. Those closest to the problem will give you the solution if you ask them. And that's what I learned that day. So yeah, I learned a great deal on May 30th. In that moment, reached 3.2 billion people in 24 hours. We had 40 protests in Flint the whole summer. Nobody got arrested. No businesses burned. This is just on the heels of a water crisis, just 2016. Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, that was the day. And then one last thing, I'm hanging on a light pole. And Johnny Franklin was there, and I said, hey, Johnny, you talk, and I'll introduce you. And then, you know, I said, hey, Quan Adams from Texas. I said, I don't even know who these guys were prior to that day. I said, when we get there, we're going to talk to the people. There was so many folks in the parking lot. It was dark out. I'm like, that's our pulpit. And I made a commitment there that I'm telling you is, it answers your question, man, what you said earlier about, you know, all the things that need to be changed. I said that day, and there's a picture of me on the light pole hanging there. I can't change everything, but I can change what I can control. And that's why I've done what I've done. I'm so committed with Ignite and talking to folks and getting that word out there, because we're making a difference. It's not the only change, but it's the right change.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Neil. Let me just quick follow up. I'm sorry. Are you talking to other sheriff's departments, not only in Michigan, but around the country about Ignite and trying to encourage that?
Can I tell you, because of what I do, like what you do, is I message what we've done. So if the first time we graduated Leon Mize from the kitchen and he did a complete program, I started marketing it. That was 4 years ago. Now there's 23 sheriffs in the country that are Ignite sheriffs, white sheriffs, black sheriffs, Republican sheriffs, Democratic sheriffs, female sheriffs, Sheriff McFadden from Mecklenburg County, and Sheriff, from Collin County, Texas, Sheriff Skinner, a country sheriff and a inner city sheriff. Ignite is the answer. Harvard, Brown, and Michigan did an 18-month study on it. They just released their study last 2024. I'm telling you, you could look up the Harvard study with Ignite. It reduces crime. It reduces recidivism by 23%. I don't know of a government program that reduces it by a quarter. It reduces the social economic cost by $5,600. But more importantly, it's the standard in America now. The National Sheriff Association has adopted it. I leave next week to go to Oxford University in England to speak for the World Literacy Foundation in front of 82 countries. So I'm telling you, this is the change, because when you have a catch basin like we have in jails in America, you're catching mental illness, you're catching family brokenness, you're catching fatherless and motherless families, you're catching addictions, you're catching people who didn't get a start, who made bad decisions. Jails, if you can fix that, and that's what the Harvard study says, if they can work in jails in Flint, Michigan, it can work anywhere in the country. And what it is, changing the culture, giving people hope, value, education, and a job. When they do that, they don't come back to jail. Why don't they come back to jail? Because they're not victimizing. Less victims, less brokenness, and everything that we've been asking help for.
So how is the program ran? Is it ran by sheriffs, or do you hire people? And how is it funded?
Isn't that great? I love this question, because government is usually thinking of some kind of crazy good idea, and then they want funding. I did it completely opposite. I don't want anything. For 2.5 years, I didn't ask for a dime. I just changed the way we did business. See, remember, it's a culture change. It's not a program. And so I tell people, when you just change the way you think, it doesn't cost you anything. And so what we did was we launched it September 8, 2020. I had a ribbon cutting. It was not about a brick and mortar building. It was about a concept. We had no infrastructure. We had nothing set up except for paper and pen. And we decided we're going to find out where our math and reading is, where our literacy is. We're going to find out who needs a GED and a diploma. So we just started doing that with the first 90 days. I partnered with the high school program for adult education. We started seeing math and reading go up a full grade from 5th to 6th grade. These are adult folks. And then we started bringing in other instructors. Can I tell you this? It's been 5 years this September. I've never paid a dime for any instructors to come in. And we've got dozens of them. Because when somebody wants to do good, don't tie it to what you want. If you want to do good, it's because your heart wants to do good. So I've partnered with the UAW, the Iron Workers of America, Mott Community College, the University of Michigan, Dr. Shane Jackson, who teaches food and healthy eating, the Elgar Credit Union, who teaches financial literacy. And so Ignite is not about asking money to do the right thing. It's to get the money after you've shown the results. So we've got funding now after 2.5 years. I've got a full Ignite team that are sheriff's deputies. But I tell them, I don't even want you to teach. I just want you to create the environment for people to come in and do the work. So it's a great model. We have it all scaled out. It's almost like, McDonald's franchises. You want Ignite? I'll bring it to you and we can plug and play. It works.
Wow. So this is not, you're not getting any funds from the government at all. And
We are now. Yes, sir.
You are.
After 2.5 years. Yes, sir.
Okay, so one of the things, one of our viewers, Mike V, he's saying that, and I understand this. He says that this new administration in DC, they would classify this as a DE&I program. What are you doing to protect your initiative from the right wing attacks?
So it's not DEI. It's about humanity. And it's about reducing crime. It's about reducing victims. It's everything that whether you're a Republican or Democrat wants to do when they're out there on the stage in front of a podium. We have not suffered a single cut. Now, our state funding also helps. And we are in a state where our governor and I are great friends and we have state funding, but our funding has not been cut. But I'm going to tell you this, if they came down and said, hey, we're cutting your funding, see ya. I'll find it elsewhere because we're not.
Peace out.
That's it. That's it. So thanks, Mike G.
Yeah, absolutely. This is and by the way, Orange G, another one of our viewers, says this about you. He's giving you a great compliment. He says, just imagine if we had a sheriff like you, Sheriff Swanson, in every state. He says, I must say I am impressed.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you. That's it, man. That's from the heart. Well, I can tell you this, to his point, That's why we do what we do, and we're on platforms like yours, because there are other sheriffs like me. I told you I could list 24 of them and more, because people sometimes in leadership position just need somebody to break through. And just because you're in a leadership position doesn't mean that you want to be the point of the spear and take all the incoming. You know, I've got arrows in the front from my enemies and knives in the back from my friends, but I'm still breathing. I'm going to keep going.
There you go. I'm
Do you
still
have
standing.
do you have this program in California?
Not yet, but
Okay.
I will tell you, and I know that when I drop this name, it's gonna settle some things. But I got to show you something, and you're gonna love this too. So I got a call to come out and see Snoop Dogg, and so I went out there last year, and I talked to Snoop, and obviously he's justice impacted. And when I was out there, he's like, man, he knew everything about Ignite, and he knew everything that we were doing. And I finally said, hey, man, how can I help? He's like, we want to bring it out to LA. He goes, they're not doing anything. He obviously has juveniles out there. And I was going to pull up the video, but, I'm dealing with his producer, because a lot of these folks, these influencers, they can get into spaces that I can't, and they have an audience. So that's the only contact I have right now. But eventually, this is going to be the standard one way or another. One way or another, this is what's going to happen. And when you have people like you and folks that are out there that are using their platforms to show we cannot do jail and incarceration the way we've been doing it because lives are impacted, then they're going to come up with what works, and that's where Ignite falls in.
Right. Yeah. I really think like what you're doing when you think about the prison system, having programs like this, like you said, it changes the culture of the prison from the sheriffs to the inmates.
Yes, ma'am.
And it gives hope. And I think that's what's missing in a lot of our prisons is the word hope. And so
That's
I
right.
really appreciate what you're doing.
But you just hit on the head. I'm going to tell you, the most dangerous inmate in any jail in America is not the one who has the harshest crime. It's the one who's hopeless. I don't care what the crime is. If folks don't have hope, I mean, that's a scary place to be. And I have learned, and I have put myself in position. And I got to tell you, because you bring up a great point, it just triggered a memory. Last February 2024, I've been to Birmingham, Alabama multiple times, and they're actually launching Ignite, Sheriff Petway, this year. And when you think about Birmingham, Alabama, if you've not been there, of course, I know that you, with your background, know exactly where the 16th Street Church is, and of course the jail where Martin Luther King wrote the letter. I was in that jail cell. Sheriff Petway took me there, and I'm looking out the same window. Now, I was born in 1972. I wasn't there in 1963, but I'm looking out the same window all these years later, thinking, what does it feel? What did he feel when he's trying to do right, but he's in a jail cell looking out a window? And people are saying all these horrible things. And I felt that hopelessness because he was going against an entire society. And I'm telling you, the reason I'm so excited, the reason I'm always, positive is hope is the answer. And what you're going to do, whether it's an illness or the loss of a loved one, if you have hope, that's the one thing that's going to get you through. And I believe that Ignite is one of many things, but that's the hope that people have been looking for. I've seen on families. I got dudes that come back to jail for their commencement so they can get recognized at our in-jail graduations.
Nice.
Okay, your program is too good. It's too
you got to
good.
see it live.
I don't want them coming back.
I'm telling you.
Graduate.
You could come. Our next commencement's in May. I would make you my special guests. I'm not kidding you. Just check it out. You will never be the same.
Well, we really, really appreciate you, Sheriff Swanson, what you're doing, what you have ignited. And we are encouraging folks to look into the Ignite program. As he mentioned that Harvard study, I saw that study. It's amazing. It's sometimes you look at it, you say, is that really real? And it is real. So we thank you for bringing it to the Black press and let it be known. And listen, we'll probably be chatting with you again. Thanks so much.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you for what you do.
Yeah. You're what we call an ally. We appreciate
that.
You.
The Bible says, take care of the least of these. That's your duty. And love your neighbor as yourself. And that's what I'm doing right now. So I love you and I appreciate you.
Thanks, Sheriff. That is fantastic.
Yeah,
fantastic stuff. Wow. And I love the energy. Absolutely love the energy.
Yeah.
Listen, if you're not enthusiastic about a program that you're involved in, then why should anybody else be enthusiastic? And this this sheriff is extremely enthusiastic, and I'm sure it's contagious.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what our prison system needs, hope. And he's
Yeah,
definitely given that. And so I applaud it. We were a little
yeah, you hit the
skeptical
nail
at
on the head.
first, but he came through with all the right answers. So it's like, okay, Stella, we
Listen,
support
her skeptic meter was way up at the beginning, and now it's non-existent.
that.
Very good. So, and then he mentioned too, he's like, his only so far his only contact in LA is Snoop Dogg. Hey, I mean, what a
That's a good
start.
place to start. Hey,
That's a
Snoop Dogg got Harry pardoned by Donald Trump. That's a
there you
great place to start.
go.
He getting
I mean,
pardons and stuff.
listen, you usually have to go to about a 450 steps to get to Snoop Dogg. He already up there. That is
That's great.
fantastic.
That's great.
Yeah, but it's great, when you have folks like a Jelly Roll and a Snoop Dogg and others who are getting behind this program. It's great because, as he said, you have influences like that. People are going to pay attention,
Right.
and that's what
Right.
you want.
Right.
So good job. All right, so let's go into your quickies.
But first, I think Greer wants us to tease the pop quiz of the day.
Oh yeah, there's the quiz again, y'all.
All right, this woman investigate. Oh, she gave us a clue. This woman investigated sexual assault against Black women in the South for the NAACP, including Reese Taylor's case in 1944. And we have a clue. The clue is history made her a symbol, but in real life, she was a strategist, an investigator, and a soldier of justice. Okay, I'm going with Ida B. Wells. That's my final answer. Did somebody say that's not it?
So,
I mean,
somebody said
that's
that's
them.
not it because she died. She died too soon
That's,
to be that person.
okay, all right. Well, that just
What do
sounded
y'all
like it.
think? Come on, put some more guesses in the chat as we go. David Youngblood is going with Rosa Parks. Um, I'm
Okay.
not sure if Rosa
Hey,
Parks.
my answer, that's all I got.
That's all you got?
That's all I
Oh
got for
my
now.
gosh.
All right.
Okay, well, we'll find out shortly. Let's hit some quickies.
All right. So, where's HU? Anybody out there from HU? Howard
You
University.
know.
There you go. Howard University swim and dive team are making history. Now, HU swim and dive team have become the first all-Black collegiate swim team to be featured on Sports Illustrated's latest HBCU cover. Now, the HBCU SI edition celebrates the excellence, the resilience, and culture impact of HBCU athletes.
All
I
right.
thought that was pretty dope. That
Wow.
SI in a world now in time of DEI, the Sports Illustrated is still moving forward with their HBCU edition. So we
Yeah,
definitely applaud them.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff.
And in NFL headlines, since we're talking about sports, it looks
Mhm.
like the Wilsons are headed to New York. Russell Wilson has agreed to a 1-year deal with the New York Giants worth up
Oh,
to,
wow.
drum roll, $21 million. 1
All
year,
right.
up to 21 million. So Sierra and the
Wow.
kids, they all packing up. They didn't
So
went
wait a
from
minute. So so we're gonna have in New York, we're gonna have Sierra and Russell. We already got Jordan Woods and Kat in the garden.
okay.
Carl Anthony Towns is Jordan Woods is Bo.
That's right.
So
Okay.
and
All right.
she's usually at the games too. So wow. All the
Yeah.
pretty ladies. That's they know where they belong, New York.
Hey, what Jay-Z and Alicia Keys say, concrete jungle where dreams are
That's
made
right.
of. There you
That's
go.
it. That's
There
it.
you go.
Oh, and have you seen? You gotta see. I always say this when you mention Alicia Keys, her Hell's Kitchen.
Hell's Kitchen.
Oh
I've
my
heard it.
goodness,
I've heard nothing but great things about it.
it's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal.
And speaking of Othello, since you went to Broadway, Greer, we got to talk about it because it was part of our opening for today.
Mhm.
Or Othello, the stars showed up for opening night. It has outsold and broke records on Broadway. Right, it stars Denzel Washington, Jake Gyllenhaal. So on opening night, you had Angela Bassett, Jennifer Lopez, you had the Bidens. Of course, it's one of the producers, is one of our favorite housewives. Well, some of our favorite housewives, Candy Burris and her husband Todd. So she's gonna get that Tony. She's going for the EGOT. Candy's gonna get that Tony.
She's gonna get the EGOT. Okay.
Yeah, she's gonna get the EGOT. And a story that came out of this, since we're talking about it, is Sherry Shepherd and Nia Long. Have you heard what happened with that?
Yes. What's the
So-
deal with that?
So apparently, Nia Long had a tap on the shoulder to Sherry Shepherd to tell her that she didn't appreciate the way that she is handling her on the Sherry Shepherd show. So Sherry Shepherd went to talk about it on her show this week, which made it a headline. People were trying to figure out who it was. It's allegedly Nia Long, allegedly, because she didn't say the person's name. But she said, Sherry Shepherd said she had to go in the bathroom because she was ready to check this person. And then Nia Long seemingly reacts to it. So Othello was popping. I mean, it gave us a little housewives drama. You had Broadway.
Sherry got to cool it. She's got to cool it. Come on.
Well,
they go in the bathroom and stuff.
They were dragging her. They were dragging her on. You talk about Felicia Rashad being dragged in the comments. They were dragged.
Sherry was dragged.
Yeah, they were saying her show was boring. She's just looking for something to do a spark. They start saying, "Where is Wendy Williams?"
I mean, come on, to go out and say, unless she was just joking, to go out and say you went to the bath, you want waiting for her in the bathroom and stuff. Come on, that's uncalled for, especially nowadays. Come on, especially these days. You don't want to be
said that when she tapped her or pulled her, she was talking to a group of people, so it was semi-embarrassing for her, for her to be checked in that manner. And when she went to her seat and thought about it, her blood started to boil.
Because now you're talking about an ego being a little bit bruised. It's like, come on.
Well,
the last thing we need right now.
You talk about people, you might get tapped on the shoulder.
Hey,
it is what it
tap
is.
all you want. As long as it's just a tap.
We always remember the infamous Whitney Houston and Wendy Williams call. FAFO. Okay. FAFO. That's what that was. God. That was the FAFO moment.
Okay.
And then finally, important news. If you're in Illinois or Wisconsin, Coca-Cola is voluntarily recalling more than 10,000 12-ounce cans of the popular beverage. So if you're drinking Coca-Cola in Wisconsin or Illinois, this recall specifically impacts you. So just wanted to give our
Where is it bottled or canned at? What do they make
Wisconsin. It at? It's in Wisconsin. It's bottled and canned in Wisconsin.
So, but the recall is only for Wisconsin and Illinois?
Yeah, so this is where this particular 10,000 cans were manufactured, and they were distributed in Wisconsin and Illinois. So it's isolated, but we still gotta let it be known, family know. If you live in Wisconsin or Illinois.
Yeah, how do we know? How do we trust that it didn't get out all over the country and all over the world?
Well, first of all, we know that the FDA is not going to tell us by what Donald Trump is doing. So for Coca-Cola to voluntarily put this out there. So I mean,
is Coke trusted? Are they to be trusted?
I like a little Coke with my Hennessy. So yeah, I trust them.
Can't
just
trust
a splash, just a splash. And those are the quickies for today. Those are your quickies for today.
All right. So who's losing a black card today?
I'm gonna let you have that one.
Okay. So we had a few candidates, but this self-hating individual takes the cake. He is John K. Amanchukwa Sr. He is a so-called author, activist, and preacher who is bottom line Black MAGA. Let's hear what he had to say. Can we get some value? We got no value. Okay.
On the street have to do with George. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's true. I had to come down here just to see it for myself. The 35-foot tall Black Lives Matter shrine has been removed what did writing Black Lives Matter on the street have to do with George Floyd? And BLM, did you give any money to George's family? I mean, come on. You all raised nearly $85 to $90 million. And did that benefit George Floyd's family? No. See, BLM was founded by some Marxists. One in particular is Patrice Cullors. She said that she was a trained Marxist. And she also wanted to destroy and disrupt the nuclear family. If anybody knows anything about the dire marriage rate in the Black community, you know, from the 1890s all the way up to the 1950s, the Black marriage rate rivaled that of whites. But after Lyndon B. Johnson came along with these welfare states and found a creative way to get the Black man out of the home and to replace him with a $300 check, the marriage rate in the Black community plummeted. Today, nearly 75% of Black homes are led by a single parent, in particular, a mother. So why would a Black organization want to destroy the nuclear family? I'll tell you why. Because they are anti-Christ. They're anti-truth, and they're anti-God. And guess what? In the same manner that God removed this mess, look at this mess.
The only mess I'm seeing
the
is him.
streets.
Right. He is
Every
making
person
my stomach hurt.
Yeah, and here's what here before you get in on them, here I'm gonna quote as I've been
You know,
doing
I'm ready to
Malcolm X to the letter. I'm gonna give you like two sentences, 3 sentences. Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? Well, let me tell you something. I'll tell you why you say we hate white people. We don't hate anybody. We love our own people so much, they think we hate the ones who are inflicting injustice against them. We are oppressed. We are exploited. We are downtrodden. We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights. So the only way we're going to get some of this oppression and the exploitation away from us or aside from us is come together against the common enemy. And homeboy is the common enemy. He's lost his black heart.
put a stamp on it. Revoked.
Yeah.
We need a stamp, Greer. Revoked. Black
Revoked.
card revoked.
This idiot. I mean,
What an
come
idiot.
on. And then that whole 70-something%, that's wrong. It's wrong. And yes, divorce rates in the black community is too high. It's too high
But
everywhere.
how can you equate that to Black Lives Matter?
Exactly.
Black Lives Matter
Right.
is strictly about dealing with issues of police killings, sanctioned violence by police. That's what Black Lives Matter is. Patrice Cullors, and there's a divide. We definitely have to keep letting people know there is a divide within the Black Lives Matter movement. The Black Lives Matter movement is still
Right.
relevant with Black Lives Matter grassroots. Patrice Cullors was a part of the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. The Global Network Foundation, which is run now by Cicely Gay, Shalomi Bowers, they are the ones that took the money. The people that are really doing the work don't have any funding. It's Black Lives Matter grassroots. And so I think for us as a Black media outlet, it's important for us to reinforce these messages, because that's what Fox News, and you have these Stephen Fetchins like this gentleman, well, this guy right here,
Mhm.
Putting out misinformation. And even though Patrice started the Global Network Foundation and is now ran by Cicely Gay, I still give Patrice credit for what she did. Patrice, here in California, she changed laws. She changed city laws to where we were able to have in our sheriff's department community hearings for accountability for sheriff's department. So I mean, she's debatable, she's questionable, but the work of Black Lives Matter. How dare you? How dare you? Talk about them, and you're right across the street, and you probably went to go have lunch at the White House. You probably did that probably did that to get some brownie points. You know what I'm saying? So I
Yeah,
just
well, yeah, he's not having lunch at the White
take the
House. He
black
just want
card,
getting the
put the
brownie.
stamp
Yeah,
on it, removed,
yeah,
revoked. You can't come to the cookout. You're not coming to
yeah,
the Juneteenth celebration. You're not welcome.
yeah.
Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, and Inferno 932 says once again, white mediocrity took something that was helping the community and slandered the entire
Right.
organization. And David Youngblood says this dude utters those stats without any historical context, thereby misleading the masses, and that's always their intention. You know,
Always.
half truths doesn't cut it. Half truths are simply lies. That is what it is. So on that note, let's get to some. MB says I like the stamp idea, by the way.
Me
We
too.
get to some Black History moments. On this date in 1937, William H. Hasty confirmed as judge of Federal District Court of in the Virgin Islands, I should say, and became the first Black federal judge. William H. Hasty on this date in 1937.
All right. So I have the women's history fact
Sure
of
do.
the day, and I'm really excited about this one because on this date in 1944,
Uh-oh.
a diva,
The diva,
a supreme diva
supreme
was
diva.
born. And I'm talking about none other than the boss, Diana
Oh,
Ross. One of the most successful recording artists with recording sales exceeding 100 million copies. Diana Ross was born in Detroit, Michigan on this day. And
wow.
she's 81 and she's still touring. She'll be here at the Hollywood Bowl in July. For
Hollywood Bowl is a really great place to watch a concert, by the way, folks.
it
If
is
you've never been,
Yes.
it's
Summer
a
times
great
at the
place.
bowl are so
Yeah.
much fun, so much fun. And there was once upon a time when the Playboy Jazz Festival was happening that Bill Cosby held it down as the MC for like over maybe 20
Yeah,
years.
he plays. You know he plays. He's
Mhm.
good.
Mhm.
But Diana Ross and her hair
And her gowns.
and her gowns, as Felicia Rashad was talking about gowns. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, she'll be at the Holly, but she's touring, so if you can catch her, you might as well. She doesn't look a day over 45
He's amazing.
or maybe 50.
Yeah, she's an amazing performer. There's no doubt about it. Diana stepped on a few toes during her career, but she is the original diva, the supreme uh diva, and so Diana Ross, unbelievable.
What's your favorite Diana Ross song?
So, that's a very good question. Upside Down, probably.
Okay. Mine is It's My House and I
Okay,
Live Here.
okay, nice, nice.
That's
All
my
right.
favorite Diana Ross song. And I love Ain't No Mountain High Enough. But the one
Yeah,
that she does, If You Need Me, call me.
yeah, yeah,
No matter where
yeah.
you are, no matter how far. I love that.
Well, on a personal note with that song, Ain't No Mountain High Enough, I will always my favorite performance of that will always be my wife and a guy who sang with the Clovers. I don't know if people remember the Clovers. They had a big hit back in early 1970s. Uh, Something about the father, whatever. But um, we was at this show and she performed. My wife performed it with him, and then for one of our 10th anniversary, she performed it. He came to our 10th anniversary, and they performed it there. I'm not a singer; I'm just an organizer. So those are my
Now,
favorite performances of "Ain't No Mountain High Enough."
but there's two different versions, right? There's the Tammy
Yes,
Terrell and Marvin Gaye, and then there's the Diana Ross version,
and
right?
they do the Tammy Terrell, Marvin Gaye
Marvin Gaye.
version.
Okay.
Yeah. And Inferno 932 says he thinks of Eddie Murphy every time he hears that song. I wonder why.
Which one? Oh, which one? The Ain't No Mountain?
Ain't no mountain high enough, I guess. I
Hmm.
wonder why. You got to explain that, Inferno. I'm missing something. And it'll probably be something obvious too. All right. So our black owned newspaper of the day is the Minnesota Spokesman Recorder. Oh, wait one second. Okay. Okay. It is the Minnesota Spokesman Recorder. We'll get to the other thing in a moment, folks. The Minnesota Spokesman Recorder enjoys a living legacy as the oldest black owned newspaper in the state of Minnesota and one of the longest standing family owned newspapers in the country. Civil rights activist and businessman Cecil E. Newman launched the Spokesman's Recorder in August of 1934 as two separate newspapers, the Minneapolis Spokesman and the St. Paul Recorder. But in 2000, it merged into one single news publication. And today, the Spokesman Recorder is helmed by his daughter, Tracy Williams Dillard, who serves as CEO and publisher and took over the paper in 2007. And on November 20th, 2015, the Minnesota Spokesman Recorder, the building, became a historic landmark.
Nice.
So that is our Black-owned newspaper of the day.
Yeah.
See that?
Mm-hmm.
We got to tell our viewers about Portia Allen from Color of Change.
Well, she'll be joining us tomorrow.
She'll be joining us tomorrow. Oh, that's going to be great. So Color of Change. He says, the song was In My House. It was part of the. That's right. That's right. I knew it was going to be obvious, talking about his father not knowing the words. Right. Exactly.
Oh.
Yes. Yes. I knew it was going to be obvious.
Okay. So he's talking about It's My House and I live here.
Yes. It's my house. Yes. It's my house.
All right.
Gus.
So let's give this clue for our Black History Pop Quiz question of the day. The clue is history made her a symbol, but in real life, she was a strategist, an investigator, and a soldier of justice. Are you guys ready for the answer to our pop quiz today?
Yeah, I'm ready for the answer. Who is it?
You tell me. It's
Rosa Parks.
Who knew? And I just thought she was famous for sitting on the bus.
Right, exactly. But that clue right there, that was a good clue. History made her a symbol. That was really good.
That was the clue. Okay.
Yes, Greer trying to be all good at what she does. That is awesome.
Women's History Month. So that's still a celebration. Rosa Parks, we salute you.
Yeah, she wasn't just about sitting on the bus, y'all. David said, I told you.
She was a strategist, an investigator. Okay.
Wow, isn't that something? And look at those eyes. Those eyes tell you, what the Al Pacino say, the eyes, Chico, they never lie. Those eyes tell such a story. Wow, that is awesome. Well, hey, look at that. She just was all over the place. And all we tend to celebrate her is for taking a seat on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
When there's
That's
so much more. Yeah, so much more to her.
We keeping Black history alive over here at Black Press USA.
There you go. And so for all the news, and I'll tell you, there's a lot of news going on, folks. We have our staff meetings on Tuesday mornings and Friday mornings, and to the chagrin of some, we have a text chain going. but there is a lot on Black Press USA. Lauren Berg, April Ryan, myself, Greer has just been rocking and rolling with the videos and stuff, and Neil just been coming through like a champ out there before the break of dawn out in LA. Out there,
I might
like
go
I
take
said,
a nap, or I might do a little work. I don't know. But this is like when you love what you do, it's not work.
Okay.
It's only work sometimes.
Ali behind her and Colin Kaepernick behind her.
And that's Rosa Parks. That's the Rosa Parks on the bus. Yeah.
Look at that. Boy, oh boy. Now she's going to go out there on Crenshaw Boulevard and do some crip walking. There you go.
I think not.
No?
Only
Inferno 9.
No. Oh, maybe for Nipsey Hussle on the 31st.
Okay.
But that's
on the
about
31st.
it. Yeah.
Okay. Inferno 932, before we get out of here, says Signal is the top trending app. You can read we got so much on that, some really great insightful stuff on that story, Inferno 932, blackpressusa.com. I wrote a couple of things. April Ryan wrote a couple of things. We were able to interview some really solid folks about that. So go check it out. Gregory Meeks had a lot to say. You'll see a video of him in April as well. So keep checking blackpressusa.com. I'm telling you, there is so much more news there. The whole structure has changed, and we are really bringing it to y'all. So join us, read it, blackpressusa.com, and join us tomorrow as we come back with a special guest from Color of Change, Portia Allen. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.